a thread by vocal distance. While activists disrupt, dismantle, and deconstruct everything from art to tech, corporations are going woke. Why? Because despite the woke rhetoric about income inequality, there is zero ideological conflict between wokeness and capitalism. None. I'll explain. A thread. Thinking wokeness is opposed to capitalism is a mistake made by both the woke and by those opposed to wokeness. In fact, wokeness is a major driver of capitalism, and according to McKinsey, more than $8 billion was spent on diversity training in 2017. The woke say they're opposed to capitalism because it produces income inequality, but then they engage in the most vulgar capitalism you ever saw in your life. Here, AOC complains about income inequality, wears a $3,500 wardrobe for a magazine shoot, and then defends herself. The previous generation of the social justice left was similar. Adbusters magazine was produced to fight against brands like Nike in hopes of putting a dent in the conformist culture they said resulted from capitalism. They now have their own brand of very expensive sneakers. This is because for both the counterculture from 1960 to 2010, hippies, punks, etc., and woke culture from about 2010 until now, capitalism works. Why? Because none of their core values or ideological commitments are actually at odds with the functional requirements of capitalism. The woke may disagree with how current capitalists operate, but wokies have no problem with buying and selling goods in and of itself. No woke person ever turned down an opportunity to get paid, ever. Here, Sean King bashes capitalism while charging $21,000 for a speech. This is why Layla Saad, author of Me and White Supremacy, has absolutely no problem selling her book, Forward by Robin DiAngelo, who we will also get to, but also selling a variety of 90-minute online courses for $97 each. Wokies often claim to be against capitalism, but this is because woke think capitalism is a system of exploitation connected to slavery. The objection that they actually have to capitalism is that it enforces racism. Where they do not see racism, they have no objection. Now, it is true, wokies can read racism into anything. The key is that they do not read racism into their capitalist ventures. This is why Ibram X. Kendall, or whatever this guy's name is, says you can't separate capitalism from racism while he appears in advertising for McDonald's while selling books on Amazon. Tim Jacob Wise is open about this. While current capitalism compromises us all, the problem is not the buying and selling of things, but rather the power relations in how the exchange is done and if there is income inequality. Tim charges $10,000 to $20,000 per speech. The concern over power relations is why the woke always get more radical as they sell things. If they don't continue to radicalize, they become the status quo, which is not allowed. Because in wokeness, if you become the entrenched status quo, you become the oppressor. The woke have a very strong moral objection to ever becoming the entrenched status quo sitting at the top of the system in society, so they must always guard themselves to remain radical. DeRay makes this point before giving a talk sponsored by Wells Fargo. When fighting racism or doing some other work of wokeness getting paid is encouraged. This is often done while claiming capitalism is evil, by a woke definition. Here, Robin DiAngelo trashes capitalism while charging $20,000 per speech and $340 for a phone conversation. Getting clout is just as important as getting paid, as this allows you to preach wokeness. Here, Colin Kaepernick gets paid millions of dollars for Nike ads discussing how he gave up other millions of dollars in football before he did another $1 million deal with Disney. Remember, The woke place massive importance on the discourse, as in their view, discourses are how structures of power are made and dismantled. Here, Jameel Hill gets paid by Disney to help Colin Kaepernick get paid millions of dollars to tell his story of being oppressed. The market for wokeness is why we see corporations like Ben and Jerry's ice cream show concern about pay equality for Latinx women. Now, only 2% of Hispanics use the word Latinx, and Ben and Jerry's is too expensive for poor people, but this is the discourse that counts. The same rule extends to PepsiCo. Their brand, Mountain Dew, announced they believe Black Lives Matter. Unfortunately, from my perspective, rights for exploited black workers in developing nations don't matter to PepsiCo. But remember, in wokeness, it's the clout that counts. I say that with some sarcasm and anger, but it is what the woke think. They are focused not on the material situation, but on the discourses in society, which is why so long as the woke discourse is perpetuated, then the woke will largely be satisfied. This is why Chase Bank is able to avoid bad publicity while they face billions of dollars in fines for foreign currency manipulation, while the CEO gets paid $31 million in salary. They took a knee, and this is no joke. In front of the vault, they keep piles of cash in. None of this should surprise any of us. It's been going on forever. Kurt Cobain, leader of the alternative rock scene in the early 90s, appeared on the cover of Rolling Stone wearing a shirt that said, "Corporate magazines still suck." And Nicole Hannah-Jones said that capitalism was the motor of slavery, and then was a part of emancipation conversations sponsored by Shell Oil. In her head, this was not hypocrisy, because it was her getting sponsored and wokeness was being spread. I hope what you will get out of this is twofold. One, no matter what they say, wokies will monetize literally anything at the drop of a hat. Two, the woke care about discourses, identity, narratives. The living conditions of people usually are a secondary concern. So, as fun as it was to have a laugh at what appears to be stunning hypocrisy, there was a serious point. For reasons I tried to make clear, in their own system, the woke aren't really hypocrites. They're just finding ways to get paid to put wokeness into everything they can find. Is what they are doing totally unhelpful? Yes. Is their method of getting paid utterly cynical? Also, yes. Is this ethically defensible in any world other than wokeness? Absolutely not.